The rope cut into her wrists where it looped around the fence post, coarse hemp biting deeper every time she shifted her weight. The wire fence leaned slightly, old cedar posts bowed by years of sun and wind, but it held. It always held. That was why they chose it. Dust clung to her bare feet. One shoe lay a few yards away, toe pointing toward the house as if it had tried to crawl back. The other had been taken, thrown, maybe, or kept as proof of something she didn't understand. Her dress, once pale blue, was smeared dark at the hem where the ground had been wet that morning. She kept her head lowered, not because she was ashamed, but because lifting it made the world tilt and spark. They said she needed to learn. Her mother-in-law stood on the porch, arms crossed tight against her chest, eyes sharp as broken glass. The woman had a voice that could slice clean through bone, and she had used it until the girl's ears rang. The father-in-law had said nothing. He never did. He just nodded, slow and heavy, as if agreeing with gravity itself. The brothers watched from the shade of the barn, spitting into the dirt, waiting for it to be over so supper could be eaten without interruption. She had not screamed. That seemed to disappoint them most. The sun slid higher, pressing down on her scalp, her shoulders, the raw skin beneath the rope. Flies gathered where a thin line of blood ran down her wrist. She focused on breathing, counting the spaces between each breath the way her own mother once taught her when storms rolled in from the west. Count, don't fight. Count, don't beg. A sound broke the stillness, low, rhythmic, not from the house or the barn. Hooves. At first she thought it was only her mind, desperate and untrustworthy. But the sound grew louder, firmer, the jingle of tack threading through it like a memory she couldn't quite place. The dogs lifted their heads. One barked, uncertain. A horse came into view at the far end of the fence line, chestnut coat darkened with sweat, mane tangled by miles of road. The rider sat easy in the saddle, hat pulled low, shoulders broad but relaxed, as if the land itself had shaped him that way. He slowed when he saw the yard, the house, the girl tied to the fence like an animal meant for auction. He did not ask first. The horse stopped. Dust settled. Silence stretched thin. The rancher swung down from the saddle and let the reins fall loose. His boots hit the ground with a sound that carried. He stood there a moment, eyes moving, not lingering, not rushing, taking in the rope, the fence, the porch, the men in the shade. When he spoke, his voice was quiet enough that it forced people to lean toward it. Who did this? The mother-in-law stepped forward as if she had been waiting all morning for someone to challenge her. She's family business, she said. You'd best ride on. The rancher's gaze slid back to the girl. Her chin was trembling now, not from fear, but from the effort of holding herself together. He noticed the way her fingers had gone numb, the purple creeping up her knuckles. He noticed the missing shoe. She doesn't look like business, he said. She looks like someone you tied up. The father-in-law cleared his throat. She disobeyed, ran her mouth, thought she knew better. The rancher nodded once, slow. Untie her. The brothers laughed, sharp and short. One of them stepped out of the shade. Or what? The rancher didn't answer right away. He took a few steps closer to the fence, boots crunching gravel, until he stood just an arm's length from her. He didn't touch her yet. He didn't want to startle her, didn't want to make her think this was another lesson wrapped in different clothes. You hurt? He asked, not looking away from the knots. She swallowed. Her voice came out thin. I can stand. That wasn't the question. She hesitated, then nodded. Behind him, the mother-in-law's voice rose. You have no right. The rancher reached for the rope. One of the brothers moved fast, grabbing his arm. You deaf. The sound that followed was not loud, but it was final, the solid crack of knuckles meeting jaw. The brother went down hard, surprise frozen on his face as dust puffed up around him. No one rushed to help him. The rancher straightened, eyes dark now, no longer calm in the same way. Anyone else? The wind moved through the dry grass. Somewhere, a screen door banged open and shut. No one else stepped forward. He untied the rope carefully, easing the tension before loosening the knots. When the last loop fell away, the girl sagged. He caught her without hesitation, one arm steady around her shoulders, grounding her until her legs remembered what they were for. It's all right, he said, low enough that only she could hear. I've got you. She pressed her face into his shirt before she realized she was doing it. It smelled like leather and dust and something clean beneath it. Her hands shook against his chest. The mother-in-law's voice broke then, sharp with something close to panic. She belongs here. The rancher turned, the girl still held against him, and met the woman's eyes. No, he said. She comes with me. You can't just take her. I can, he said. And I am. He helped the girl to his horse, lifting her gently, setting her in the saddle as if she were made of glass and iron both. She clutched the horn, unsure, dizzy, the world tilting again but in a different way now. He swung up behind her, reins gathered easy in his hands. As the horse turned away from the fence, she looked back once. The house stood the same as it always had. The porch, the barn, the people who had taught her what silence cost. The rancher nudged the horse forward. The road stretched ahead, long and unpromising and real. The sun was still high. Her wrists burned. But the rope was gone, and the sound of hooves carried them onward, steady and unbroken, into whatever waited beyond the bend. The horse settled into a steady gait, muscles rolling beneath her as if the animal understood the need for calm. The rancher kept one arm lightly around her waist, not holding her tight, just enough to remind her she wouldn't slide away. The road out of the property narrowed quickly, turning from packed dirt to rutted earth, tall grass brushing her calves. Each step carried her farther from the fence, from the house, from the sound of voices that had shaped her fear. She expected shouting, a gunshot, someone running after them. Her body stayed braced for it, breath shallow, shoulders tight. Nothing came, only the creak of leather, the soft snort of the horse, and the wind threading through open land. After a while, the rancher spoke again. What's your name? She hesitated. Names had weight. Names could be used. Still, something in his voice, unhurried, unclaiming, made lying feel wrong. Eliza, she said. That your full name? She nodded. Eliza May. He nodded too, as if that mattered. I'm Thomas. Folks call me Tom. They rode in silence again. Her wrists throbbed now that the rope was gone, pain blooming where numbness had been. She flexed her fingers, winced. He noticed immediately. Hold on, he said, easing the horse to a stop near a stand of cottonwoods where the ground dipped toward a creek. He slid down and reached up to help her, but she shook her head. I can get down. She did, stiffly, legs trembling as they took her weight. The earth felt strange beneath her feet, too open, too forgiving. She swayed once, and Tom steadied her with a hand at her elbow. He took a canteen from his saddle and poured water over a clean cloth, then knelt in front of her without ceremony. His hands were big, scarred, careful in a way that suggested long practice with things that could break if rushed. This might sting, he said. She watched his face as he cleaned her wrists. He didn't flinch at the marks, didn't suck in air or curse the people who'd done it. He just worked, jaw set, eyes focused, as if tending to an injury was something sacred, something that didn't need commentary. You didn't have to do that, she said quietly. He glanced up. Do what? Come back there. He returned to her wrists. I did. That doesn't explain it. A corner of his mouth lifted, not quite a smile. Sometimes explanation comes later. When he finished, he wrapped the cloth gently around her wrist, tying it loose. He stood and offered her the canteen. She drank slowly, water spilling down her chin before she realized she was crying. The tears came sudden and hot, breath hitching as weeks, months, of swallowed words pushed up all at once. She tried to turn away, embarrassed, but he stayed where he was, not crowding her, not leaving. Just there. It's all right, he said again, as if he had all the time in the world to keep saying it until she believed him. When the tears eased, she wiped her face with the back of her hand. Where are we going? My place, he said. It's a few hours yet. We can rest here if you need. She looked around. The creek whispered over stones, a sound she hadn't realized she missed until it reached her. I can keep going. They rode until the sun dipped lower, the light softening into gold. The land changed slowly, open fields giving way to rolling hills, fences mended and straight, cattle grazing with the lazy confidence of animals that knew they were watched over. When the ranch finally came into view, it wasn't grand. A low house, weathered wood, smoke curling from a chimney. A barn set back, sturdy and square. It looked lived in. Safe, her mind whispered before she could stop it. Tom helped her down again, then led the horse away to the stable. She stood awkwardly in the yard, unsure what to do with her hands, with herself. He returned carrying a folded blanket and draped it around her shoulders. You hungry? She nodded, then hesitated. I don't have. That's all right, he said, cutting her off gently. We'll eat. Inside, the house smelled of stew and old wood. A lamp glowed on the table, casting warm light that made the corners feel less sharp. He set a bowl in front of her, steam rising. She stared at it for a long moment, then began to eat, slow at first, then faster as her body remembered hunger. He ate too, across from her, not watching her too closely but not turning away either. When she finished, exhaustion hit her like a wave. Her eyelids drooped, head nodding. There's a spare room, he said. You can rest. The bed was narrow but clean. She lay down fully clothed, blanket pulled to her chin, and sleep took her before she could think about what came next. She dreamed of fences stretching endlessly across the land, ropes turning into vines that fell away at her touch. When she woke, light filtered through the window, pale and new. For a moment, panic flared. Where am I? Then memory settled, bringing with it a cautious calm. She sat up, testing her wrists. They still ached, but the pain felt different now, less like a warning and more like healing. Voices drifted in from outside. Tom, speaking to someone else. A woman's voice answered, older, firm but kind. Eliza rose and stepped into the doorway. The woman stood in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, gray hair pinned back. She turned when she saw Eliza, eyes sharp but not unkind. Well, she said, you must be the reason Tom came. Home late. Tom cleared his throat. This is my sister, Margaret. Margaret wiped her hands on a towel and came closer, taking Eliza in with a look that missed nothing. Sit, she said, nodding to a chair. You look like you could use some coffee. Eliza sat, hands folded tight in her lap. Margaret set a mug in front of her, then rested her hands on the table. You don't have to say anything you don't want to, she said. But you're welcome here. The words loosened something inside Eliza's chest. She nodded, unable to speak. Days passed in a careful rhythm. Eliza helped where she could, shelling beans, folding laundry, brushing the horses. Tom showed her the edges of the land, the places where the creek flooded in spring, where the ground stayed warm even in winter. He didn't ask questions she wasn't ready to answer. He didn't push. At night, she lay awake listening to the sounds of the house, learning them. The floorboard that creaked near the stairs. The way the wind rattled the shutters when it came from the north. Each sound became a thread stitching her into this new place. Trouble came the way it always did, without warning, riding hard. One afternoon, dust rose on the road, fast and angry. Eliza saw it from the yard, heart dropping into her stomach. Riders. 3 of them. Tom was in the barn. Margaret stood beside Eliza, her posture changing the instant she saw the figures approaching. Go inside, Margaret said quietly. Eliza didn't move. Her feet felt rooted to the ground. The riders pulled up short, horses snorting. One of them dismounted, hat shoved back on his head. The brother who'd fallen. His jaw still showed a bruise. We're here for the girl, he said. Tom stepped out of the barn then, shotgun resting easy in the crook of his arm. He didn't raise it. He didn't need to. She's not here, he said. The man laughed. We can see her. Tom's eyes flicked to Eliza, just once. Not a command. A question. She took a breath. Her legs shook, but she stepped forward, standing beside Margaret. I'm not going back, she said. The words surprised her with their strength. The brother sneered. You don't get to decide. Tom shifted, the movement subtle but unmistakable. She does. The air thickened, heavy with things unsaid. The other riders shifted in their saddles, uneasy. You'll regret this, the brother said. Maybe, Tom replied. But not today. For a long moment, no one moved. Then the brother spat into the dirt, swung back into his saddle, and turned away. The others followed, dust swallowing them as they rode off. Eliza sagged, breath rushing out of her. Margaret's hand closed around hers, solid and warm. That night, Eliza sat on the porch, watching the stars come out one by one. Tom joined her, leaning against the railing. They might come back, she said. They might, he agreed. She looked at him, really looked. The lines at the corners of his eyes, the steadiness that didn't waver even when the world pressed hard. Why are you doing this? She asked again, softer now. He thought for a moment. Because no one should be tied to a fence and told it's love. The words settled between them, heavy and true. The wind moved through the grass, carrying the scent of earth and open space. Eliza breathed it in, letting it fill places inside her that had been empty too long.